Pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up on the April 19th edition of Carolina Week.
A surprise change in the tactics by the defense team for DeMario James Atwater.
Police say he murdered former student body president Eve Carson. We'll have team coverage of today's developments.
In sports, the #1 ranked women's tennis team is on fire, while the softball team hosts an ACC foe for the last time this season.
It was a cold morning. Weathercaster Joe Belangelo will tell us if we can expect another plunge in temperatures tonight.
All that and seniors end their college careers with a taste of New Orleans.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
A lot of us are, want to move on, and just this lingering, like, what's going to happen with the two that were convicted.
The man accused of killing former student body president Eve Carson has pleaded guilty in federal court today. Good evening, I'm Lauren Magaha.
And I'm Chris Neal. Thanks for joining us. By agreeing to the plea bargain, DeMario James Atwater avoids the death penalty on federal charges he was facing. It was more than 2 years ago that police found Eve Carson's body in the middle of a residential street in Chapel Hill. Police say Atwater and Lawrence Lovett kidnapped her, forced her to withdraw money from an ATM, and then shot her. We have team coverage tonight. Andrea Blanford is live in our main studio, and Elizabeth Lamb is live in our satellite studio. We're going to go to Elizabeth Lamb with some student reaction. Elizabeth?
Chris, the news broke just after noon and spread across campus like wildfire. And although we might not have expected the plea to come when it did, many students think Atwater didn't have a choice.
Most aren't surprised by Atwater's move to plead guilty, and they're hopeful the campus can now move forward.
But I think it'll probably go a little bit faster now that he's pled guilty. There won't have to be he won't have to defend himself any longer. He can admit to what he's done.
So I think they're just exploring every option, and pleading guilty is just probably top of the list. So.
It's something that, I think about a lot and just wondering what's going to happen to them. So if this speeds it up, that would be great, so we can all kind of move on with that.
So is Atwater trying to work the system?
Yes and no. I think he was very much guilty, but the fact that his defense was trying to move it away from even the state, I think that is very shocking that he decided just to plead guilty. So.
Lifetime sentence seems like it's going to be pretty automatic.
I mean, it makes sense to avoid the death penalty, and if he knows he did it, and there's pretty much conclusive evidence that he did, I guess it would just make sense for him.
And it puts an end to this chapter of a very sad time in the life of the university.
It's been going on for a while now, and I think, and even for Eve's family and her close friends, it would just be great to have that closure.
I think definitely the feeling around campus is that Atwater is, kind of getting to the point where he really has no other option, and that's kind of the feel that I got when I was walking around today getting student opinions on campus.
All right, thanks. That's Elizabeth Lamb in our satellite studio. We're now going to go to Andrea Blanford, who's live in our main studio. Andrea, the trial wasn't set to start until May 3rd. This plea bargain today was an unexpected development.
It certainly was, Chris, especially when you consider how hard Atwater's attorneys fought for a change of venue. With today's plea agreement, members of the university community hope to begin the healing process.
The long-awaited conclusion to the case involving one of the men charged with murdering Eve Carson came earlier today when DeMario Atwater pleaded guilty in federal court. Perhaps not total justice for some, but something.
Some justice is better than none.
Jeevan Atreja was a close friend of Eve and met her during his first days at UNC at Carolina kickoff. He says he would have preferred Atwater receive the death penalty, but knows Eve's opposition to the death penalty is being served.
Where we go from now and what changes have been made since then is what would have been important to her.
Former student body president Jasmine Jones says it's important to remember that some good has come from what is otherwise a terrible tragedy.
And how it really made us really begin to focus on safety and also recognize that, this is a real town. This isn't just, Chapel Hill's bubbles.
Atreja says he's also just relieved to see some closure.
It's anger that, it took 2 years. It took so long. But at the same time, at least a page can be turned now.
Legal experts tell This is a calculated risk by the defense team. Atwater isn't guaranteed life in prison rather than the death penalty because he still faces the possibility of capital punishment on state charges. But that's very unlikely to happen in Orange County.
All right, that's Elizabeth Lamb in our satellite studio, Andrea Blanford in our main studio. To reiterate, Demario James Atwater pleaded guilty today to murdering Eve Carson. Thank you.
Student Congress has a new leader, and she says she's ready to open up the political process to more students. Sophomore Deanna Santoro, a political science and psychology major from New York, is the new speaker for the 92nd Congress. As part of her platform, Santoro says she wants to create a more inclusive and transparent Congress. Her plans include opening up the process for the allocation of funds to student organizations and creating opportunities for involvement by non-elected students. Santoro said she wants to motivate representatives and let them know this is not the 90th session or the 91st session.
We're the 92nd session, and we have different leadership, and we have really big goals, and it's our responsibility to see these happen.
Santoro is taking over following a shaky year for Student Congress. Speaker Joe Levin Manning stepped down late last semester in order to run for student body president.
Last week, we told you about additional budget cuts that could affect our campus. Now, Chancellor Thorpe is preparing the campus for what could be a tough road ahead. The North Carolina legislature has proposed an additional 5% budget cut, which would cause job losses across the state, including here at UNC. System President Erskine Bowles is encouraging campus leaders statewide to oppose these cuts. But UNC Chancellor Holden Thorpe is preparing just in case.
We're talking about the economic situation that we're in, which is still a major issue for the university and for North Carolina.
Chancellor Thorpe spoke briefly on Friday about the budget situation and what it could mean to faculty and students.
I think, unfortunately, also some cutbacks in academic programs, more than we saw last year. We'll probably see some class sizes creep up on us, and we may see some instructors having to do more sections than they have been doing in the past.
The main concern with the new budget proposal is the potential loss of faculty and instructors. This would mean larger class sections for students and even fewer options when registering for classes.
Cutting money out of education, first of all, is a big, big mistake.
Has the potential to affect our overall ranking if we're not careful on how we space out courses and give students as many opportunities to advance.
Despite the concerns of faculty and students, Chancellor Thorpe is determined to make the best of this tough situation.
This is kind of the new way of functioning that we're going to have for the next few years, and I think people are as upbeat as they can possibly be about that, even though it's quite difficult.
We'll continue to follow the proposed budget cuts until the legislature votes whether or not to approve them.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you how more than 2,000 people spent their weekend.
As UNC families walk to remember those lost to cancer. Stay with us.
I present to you Algebra 2, Foreign Languages, and finally, Biology. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Me.
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college.
Escucha Smokey antes de tratar.
Solo tú.
No juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego. Fuego. No hay nada pero un pobre conejo asustado a un pobre ratón sin casa en que vivir. Si un hermoso bosque es lo que deseas, no juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego.
Solo tú puedes prevenir los fuegos forestales.
¡Fuego!
Hey guys, this is my teenage friend Rachel. She's cool.
Hey. Hey, could you watch the road?
Hey, could you watch the road?
Okay. All right, well, if we die in a car crash, I want to donate my eyes to my neighbor Gary. He has a boat and he sails all around the world. I would love to see that. I don't know if he actually needs eyes, but who would turn on a free pair of eyes, right? Who's that rich?
With the slogan Celebrate, Remember, Fight Back, more than 2,000 people raised awareness for cancer this weekend. Reporter Carly Stevenson has the details.
To kick off the event, survivors walked a lap around the track. Participants honored survivors for their courageous struggle against cancer. Teams also sponsored survivors and gave them gift baskets to show their support. Survivor David Phillips, a graduate student at Duke, says Relay helped him remember the people who supported him when he had cancer.
It's easy to forget the lessons that we learn from going through something like this, but to have these events reminds me, even as a survivor, that I should live this every day.
The Fetzer Field and track were filled with fun activities to support the walkers. Local artists played in the background and kids joined in on the fun with cornhole and a big blow-up slide. Team stations gave participants another way to raise money. One mummified walker even danced for the cure. Fundraising Committee Sub-Chair Emily Circadakis has volunteered with Relay for 4 years and says Relay for Life is important to UNC.
I would say that it's really fun and also really a worthwhile cause. It means a lot to everyone in the community, all the survivors and the students. Everyone's been affected by cancer in some ways.
When team members weren't busy walking the track, they were setting up tents inside for cat naps. Later in the evening, the event took a serious tone as walkers remembered those lost to cancer at the luminary ceremony. Team members lit luminaries bearing the names of people affected by cancer and walked the track in silence. After 20 hours of walking, participants in UNC's Relay for Life raised more than $197,200. In Chapel Hill, I'm Carly Stevenson, Carolina Week.
All proceeds go to the American Cancer Society for research toward a cure. Local residents are remembering the largest surrender of the American Civil War, which occurred in North Carolina 145 years ago. It was the surrender of General Johnston to General Sherman at Bennett Place in Durham. Many gathered to watch the reenactments, including cavalry tactics and maneuvers, the surrender negotiations, and the daily life of a soldier. And some left with souvenirs to remember the day. Sons of Confederate Veterans member Bruce Martin says these reenactments help provide better education about Civil War history.
Our public schools they gloss over the Civil War. The only thing they really talk about is the death of Lincoln. And the Civil War was more than just the death of Lincoln.
Original artifacts of Bennett Place will be on exhibit in the site's museum gallery through September 15th.
Celebrating the past can sometimes be just as important as honoring the present. This weekend, the Durham Arts Council hosted an annual Durham Art Walk. It is a tour in downtown Durham that features work from more than 200 artists. Many locals gathered to browse the paintings, try local foods, and watch musical performances from local bands. And Lauren, the weather was just perfect for that Durham Art Walk this weekend.
Absolutely beautiful weekend, and it was a little chillier this morning, though. Weathercaster Joe Belanger is here to tell us what we can expect for the rest of the week.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, it was a little bit cooler out there this morning, but coming up after the break, we'll talk about the possibility of those temperatures warming up by the end of the week and some rain coming up for your Wednesday.
My name's Emily, and in 7 years, I'll be an alcoholic.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
When life's this hard, graduating can be even harder. But you can help Jose and the students in your community make it through by visiting boostup.org.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours? 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice? 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Hey, welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm weather forecaster Joe Belanger. Here to take a look at the rest of your week ahead. We had a cold night last night. Our low got down to 39 degrees. Haven't seen those 30s in quite a while. Places west of here even saw some frost this morning. But today the sun did come back out, help make things a little bit more manageable. We're expecting a little rain on the way. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. We always like to keep an eye on weather going on all around the globe. And they're still having some after effects of that volcanic eruption in Iceland that happened last week. The satellite picture is showing a lot of the volcanic ash moving its way southward into places like the United Kingdom, Norway, Germany. Northern Europe is really being affected hard by this. Some airports have even had to shut down due to all that ash. Fortunately for us, back here, our satellite picture is showing much more quiet conditions. Any clouds you saw out there today were some high cirrus passing clouds, nothing to really block the sun out at all. The next system we are keeping an eye on, though, is over the Georgia and Alabama region right now. It's moving its way northeastward, and it should hit us by Wednesday, bringing with it a warm front. So once we get through that gloomy weather on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday look to warm up nicely and clear up nicely as well. We are still keeping an eye on that pollen count. Today and tomorrow, we're staying in that very high red region, as you can see. But Wednesday, we're expecting it to go back down to the moderate levels due to that rain that's on its way. Thursday, with the increasing temperatures, so should that pollen count as well. If you have any travel plans for tomorrow, maybe going to the western part of the state, Asheville's coming in with a high of 60 degrees. Possibility of some rain there. That's the rain that we're expecting Wednesday. Since they're further west, it should hit them first. Charlotte and Greensboro coming in around the 65 to 70 degree mark with mostly sunny conditions. For the eastern part of the state, the Outer Banks coming in around 60 degrees for their high. Wilmington and Greenville settling in at around 70 degrees. All three locations showing mostly sunny skies. Back in our region for tonight, we're expecting another chilly night, so if you are heading out, make sure you bring that coat. Our low gets down to about 44 degrees with calm winds and partly cloudy conditions. Tomorrow, going to be a similar day to today, a little bit warmer. Our high gets up to that average of 71 that we're expected to get to. Calm winds and partly cloudy conditions. And for your 5-day forecast, there is that rain that we're talking about on Wednesday. Once we get through that, though, we rebound very nicely for Thursday and Friday, get back up to the 80s with mostly sunny skies. Possibility of some clouds coming in on Saturday. We'll keep an eye on that as the week moves on. But other than Wednesday, not bad of a week ahead.
All right, looks like a fairly good week.
Not too bad at all.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Now, even though pollen is still in the air, local residents enjoyed the town's garden as part of the annual Chapel Hill Spring Garden Tour this weekend. The neighborhood tour, which began nearly 70 years ago in Chapel Hill, brings visitors every year to stop and smell the roses. Visitors crossed under an archway to see beautiful flowers like this Florida azalea. Proceeds from the tours benefit the North Carolina Botanical Garden, which is also located right here in Chapel Hill. Now, although, our basketball season here at UNC is over, it's been a lot of fun watching some of our alums play in the pros.
That's right. Simone Scott here joins us in the studio, and some of the Tar Heels were on display this weekend with the NBA playoffs.
Exactly, Chris and Lauren. Even though they're not technically students anymore, they're still Tar Heels at heart. And after the break, Carolina basketball has had plenty of success at the college level. How's it translating in the pros? We'll tell you in sports.
Honey, the credit fairy doesn't exist.
What?
It's make-believe. Nobody left anything under your pillow.
If there's no credit fairy, then we'll make our credit score go up.
We will, by doing things like paying our bills on time.
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.
What?
Explore new worlds. Read. Visit literacy.gov.
Takeout meals for just $12.99. Call them.
Sherry Pearson. You are are the sole surviving heir of the King of Montonopolis, and you are now worth $45 million.
I'm rich! This can't be real.
Of course it's not real. Come on. Having money isn't about luck. Like that takeout meal. Cook at home instead, you can save thousands a year. Feed me.
Feed the pig.
Welcome to sports. I'm Simone Scott. The top-ranked UNC women's tennis team is celebrating its first ACC regular season championship since 1987. Yelena Duricic and Sophie Grabinski were hoping to close out the season with the win Sunday against Florida State. Here's Duricic with the first set with a huge overhead smash. Watch this right here. And there she goes. Can't do anything but get out of the way of that one. UNC wins the match and the doubles point. Here's UNC senior Katrina saying, Florida State's Lauren McCreeless leaves this one hanging for her. That was a mistake. Sang wins the match, and the Heels become the first team since 2004 to go undefeated through the ACC. Despite the Tar Heels' regular season success, Coach Brian Calba says they're still hungry for more.
We don't look at it as pressure as much as things that we haven't accomplished. So we're really motivated to go and accomplish things that this program hasn't accomplished before.
The team will have the opportunity to accomplish even more when the ACC championships kick off Friday in Cary. The number 2 ranked UNC women's lacrosse team took down top-ranked Northwestern this weekend, ending the Wildcats' 41-game winning streak. Laura Zimmerman led the Heels with 7 points. It's Carolina's 7th win in a row, and the Heels are now 13-1 overall. Members of the UNC softball team now know that slow and steady wins the race, at least for the Maryland Terrapins. Tar Heel pitcher Danielle Spalding was all smiles on Saturday. The senior celebrated her 22nd birthday by striking out 15 of the first 16 Maryland batters. UNC scored first in the bottom of the third with a hit by senior Anna Roberts and another by Spalding herself. Heels up 2-0, but not for long. Top of the 6th, Maryland gets a rally going off this grounder down the middle and kept it going to take a 5-2 lead. Carolina still trailed by 3 in the bottom of the 7th. It looked like the Heels could get a rally going with 2 runners on, but UNC couldn't get the bats moving. Spalding popped this one out, the shortstop for the 3rd and final out. Heels dropped the first game of the series 5-2. The Heels went on to drop the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday 2-1, but on Sunday, UNC came out fighting for Senior Day and was able to avoid the sweep, winning 4-0. The Heels are now 35-15 for the year. The Carolina continued its dominance in the Carlisle Cup competition against Duke. For the 3rd year in a row, the title stays in Chapel Hill. Coming into the weekend, the Heels led challenge 12.5 to 8.5. The Lady Heels finished 5th in the Golf ACC Championships, losing the point to the Blue Devils, who finished 3rd. Despite the setback, a 4th place finish by the men and a 3rd place finish by the women at the ACC Outdoor Track and Field Championships gave the Heels 2 points and sealed the Carlisle Cup victory. Despite its cold weather origins, one winter sport is sweeping the Triangle. Aaron Taub has the story.
There may be a Zamboni, but the surface at the ice house in Wake Forest isn't being smoothed and sanded for hockey. This ice is being prepared for the Triangle Curling Club. For those yet to step onto the ice for the first time, the game involves 2 teams of 4 trying to slide 40-pound stones to land on a target at the other end of the ice. Along the way, teammates can sweep the ice to remove surface tension and direct the stones where they want them to go. While curling might look easy, first-time curler John Staten said that wasn't the case.
I don't know really what we were expecting, but it's a lot harder than it looks. You have to be a lot more flexible than I imagined, but it's fun.
With a little bit of practice, you too can learn to curl. Just make sure to use your dominant foot to push off of, and make sure you keep your balance.
While newcomers like Staten are drawn by NBC's television coverage of the sport during the Olympics, veterans like Jeff Turnham keep coming back for the post-game social gatherings.
We'll just sit down and talk. Mostly we'll talk about the game, the shots we made, the shots we didn't make, give each other pointers, and then we'll just, talk and socialize.
In fact, being a loser on the ice can actually make you a winner at the bar.
It's not a bet, it's just sort of polite. Etiquette is very important in curling, and it's just, if you win a game, you buy the other team a drink.
And with etiquette like that, everybody wins. At the Triangle Curling Club in Wake Forest, I'm Aaron Taub, Carolina Week Sports.
I might have to check that one out. And if you're interested in learning the curl, the Triangle Curling Club is holding a Learn the Curl session at the Ice House Thursday at 8:30. Under the guidance of Dean Smith, Bill Guthridge, and Roy Williams, Tar Heel basketball stars have continued to shine at the next level. This year's NBA playoffs are a perfect example. The Tar Heels have 10 players in the playoffs this season, including 2 stars from last year, Danny Green and Ty Lawson. And if you know of a team to root for, you might want to pull for the Cavs, who have 3 former Tar Heels on the roster, including the aforementioned Green. Also in the first round, the Vince Sanity, Vince Carter, and the Magic are taking on Raymond Felton and the Bobcats. Also on the list, Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse, Brendan Haywood, and Marvin Williams. And Chris, Lauren, I love this time of year. It's so much fun seeing guys like Danny and Ty be able to win maybe back-to-back championships in 2 different levels.
Absolutely.
Definitely happy for them. We've got a local team kind of with the Charlotte Bobcats too in the playoffs, so a little something to root for, and Felton plays for them. So
Exactly. This is actually their first time in franchise history making the playoffs. So it's kind of cool. And they have Larry Brown as their coach and Michael Jordan as the GM. Lots of Tar Heels going around. It's really awesome.
all right, thanks, Simone. Lauren, have you ever tried crawfish?
You know, Chris, I haven't, but after the break, we'll learn the art of eating this Louisiana treat.
If you have a story idea, call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week and Carolina Connection online at carolinaweek.org.
Listen to the Uncle Johannes. Eisenbrahms make you grow up smart and successful so you can be a doctor, lawyer, handsome, genius composer. Like me.
Feed your kids the arts. Visit AmericansForTheArts.org. Treat your family to Van Gogurt, packed with live and active culture to boost kids' math and reading skills.
It's sure to satisfy your hunger for inspiration.
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
I remember how much you said you liked wine.
Oh.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
You might expect to see crawfish as a delicacy in New Orleans, but in Chapel Hill?
Reporter Gabe Hyatt takes us behind the scenes of a Tar Heel crawfish boil.
Here on Caldwell Street, UNC students set water to boil. They ordered 80 pounds of crawfish shipped live from Louisiana. The Little Lobster cousins will boil alongside garlic, andouille sausage, corn, and potatoes. You put all the ingredients into the boiling water with some Cajun spice and let it cook for 5 minutes after the water's back to boiling. Put the mix into a cooler, add more spice and let the flavors steam in for 10 minutes. After that, pour it all out onto a table covered in trash bags or newspaper, and race your guests for the pick of the pot. Getting to the meat of a crawfish can be a little bit tricky. Let me show you how. First, you twist off the tail and squeeze to get the meat, like so. Make sure you suck the head. And that's a Cajun treat. This boil started when a student wanted to share his Southern culture with friends. And 4 years later, the boil attracts more fans looking to get their hands dirty.
I use my hands, get in there, I straight up dig into that bucket, rip out the biggest crawfish I could find.
What boil would be complete without good drinks and good company? The season is perfect for an outdoor party, peaking from March to May. In Chapel Hill, I'm Gabe Hyatt, Carolina Week.
Well, that certainly looks interesting. What do you think, Chris? You ready to go out and try some crawfish?
I'm ready to try a little bit. I hope Gabe Hyatt has some left for us in the newsroom when we get off the set here today.
We'll have to track him down.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.